Portland's DEI policies could cost the city hundreds of millions in federal grants. Portland has got a plethora of things working against them at the moment. They've got absolutely cratering real estate values. They've got Tom Homan looking to make a little trip and see what's going on with Trantifa and Antifa at the federal ICE building. You've got a downtown commercial core that has a 35% vacancy factor, the highest in the United States. And because of some of these policies that have got them where they are, they might lose hundreds of millions in federal grants. Let's see what that looks like. Here we go.
And we need to figure out how we can make sure that we continue to run all of those programs.
Fresh off a bruising budget fight, Portland now faces a new dilemma: follow federal mandates or risk losing millions of dollars in federal funding, all tied to equity policies and essential city services. And now city leaders say the hard decisions just keep coming. Portland faces a bumpy road ahead as city leaders grapple with federal mandates on equity programs. In a letter Wednesday, the city administrator warned that non-compliance could jeopardize funding for critical initiatives.
Justice for George Floyd reparations!
After the outcry over George Floyd's death in 2020, companies and agencies ramped up their DEI programs. Now, 5 years later, here's what's at stake in Portland. The city manages 126 active federal grants totaling $387 million, 90% of which goes to housing and transportation. Portland received $98 million in federal grants just last year.
We've ended the tyranny of so-called diversity, equity, and inclusion policies all across the entire federal government and indeed the private sector and military.
In his second term, President Trump has sharply attacked institutions receiving federal funds that uphold DEI policies, calling them divisive rather than unifying. But some Portlanders strongly disagree.
And that's really all that DEI is figuring out how we can make sure that every member of our community is getting the services that they need.
Based on race. It's racist. It's racist. So that's where all these political figures, they say the statement, but they don't say the actual part, which is DEI is racist.
Challenges followed just a month after City Council approved an $8.6 billion budget after plenty of opposition.
March! Find our march!
Now, city leaders are caught between the drive for equity and the weight of federal mandates.
The hard decisions keep coming. And frankly, that's what we signed up for.
If the city ditches DEI, it wouldn't be alone. In April, the Port of Portland dropped a similar policy, fearing a loss of more than $145 million in federal funding. Now, city leaders need to explore legal and policy options, all to secure funding while preserving DEI programs.
Continue to make sure that we do our job, which is to provide critical services to Portlanders and keep our community safe.
Today, the city administrator said he is unsure about the choices ahead or how it will impact the community and workplace. Now,
I bet.
Checked, and there are at least 13 key roles in Portland's Office of Equity and Human Rights, but the open chief equity officer position, paying up to $229,000, is now on pause.
Interesting. Pause. Yeah, we're gonna put a temporary pause on this bad boy. That's what we're doing. This whole DEI thing, it's so ridiculous. Now, so Portland, alongside a whole bunch of other cities, are going to have to make these decisions. Do we want to get paid, or do we want to virtue signal a bunch of DEI crap? Which one do we want to do? Get paid? DEI crap. They're going to get rid of the DEI crap. They're going to bend over and they're going to take it and they're going to look back and go, we had to. We had no choice. We just had to. We got things to fund. Now, Portland is in a position where last couple of my podcasts were just this. Big Pink sold U.S. Bank Card Tower in downtown Portland, gets new owner. Now, the real story was there sold for a steep discount, an 88% discount from market value, because its downtown market has tanked. Absolutely cratered, has been absolutely crushed. And what that means is when you have a valuation of 88%, that building, Big Pink, it's a pink building, The hue of the exterior is pink. That went from $372 million in 2015 to a current sale just now of $45 million, 88% drop. So what that correlates to is a massive drop in taxes to the city, because every single commercial property owner is going to come through and say, my building's worth less. And they're probably right. Why wouldn't they do that? If one of your biggest and best buildings has an 88% drop in value and you've got a 35% vacancy factor, 1 in 3 out of every single one of your big commercial spaces is vacant, highest in the nation, you've got some real issues going on with your city. So the whacks just keep coming. So I just finished talking about the Big Pink, the sale of that, $45 million versus $372. I mean, the implications to the tax revenue to Portland are going to be horrific, going to be crazy bad. And leadership in Portland is aware of this. They know this is coming. So they cannot afford to virtue signal any of this, DEI is the best thing ever, on top of, everything else that they've got going on. Now, why Mayor Bass, we're going to switch to LA for a second. Why Mayor Bass cannot promise LA will stay sanctuary city as she looks to the 2026 re-election. Well, it's because it's this one here. Trump administration sues LA and Mayor Bass and city council over sanctuary city immigration policies. So you got sanctuary city policies and you got DEI policies. And Trump has got both of those in his scope, right? He's looking down the barrel going, no more of these shenanigans. We're not playing ball with this stupidity, with this just brain dead type of policy where it's straight up racist. We're not doing that anymore. And then you've got Antifa every night so far, since the LA riots, basically going ham on the federal building. And so that is putting a spotlight on Portland as well. But getting back to, then you've got this one. Oregon's business reputation tanks in national rankings, hits all-time low. And this was from today at 9:20 a.m. It's dropped 11 spots in CNBC's annual America's Top States for Business rankings, falling from 28th place to 39th, its lowest score in the history of the rankings. So what is making Portland, the Portland that it is right now, is terrible leadership, a bunch of policies that have just let things slide. Drugs are great. Whacked out drug addicts living in tents all over the city are a perfect idea. I mean, what could go wrong? Weak leadership, DEI concepts, sanctuary city status. No, our police department isn't going to work with ICE. And we're seeing that on a nightly basis in the ICE buildings. So Portland's got a big old target on its forehead, and it's about to take some real whacks. So when it comes down to funding, which is what we're talking about today, they know that they don't have a whole bunch of other options of money coming in. It's going the other way. There's uncertainty around how the city of Portland will secure hundreds of millions of dollars in active federal grants due to executive orders from Donald Trump. And I am totally for getting rid of DEI entirely, because I think it was a crappy policy. It was a crappy racist policy to begin with. I think people should be hired based on merit. I think they should be hired based on accomplishment. But that is, after George Floyd, after Fentanyl Floyd, that wasn't how we operated for about 4 years. We also let in 20 million people into the country, but it's a whole nother story. So Portland City Administrator Michael Jordan released a statement on Wednesday afternoon laying out the issue. In part, he said the federal government could withhold grants from cities whose DEI initiatives are out of compliance with the executive orders. Trump has basically said to California, get in line or you're not getting paid, meaning the sanctuary city policy. So you're in for a close-up look at a real battle here. Federal government versus local government. Federal government versus state government. You got a lawsuit, and Trump is as willing to sue anybody as anybody. He's a business guy. And when business guys get to a certain level, the way they solve issues is, you used to go to a parent, my brother hit me. Or in school, you go to an administrator and you say, I've been wronged here. I need this grade corrected. But in the business world, when you are a billionaire, what you do is you say, go F yourself. I'll see you in court. And Trump has taken that to all of these kind of issues. Sues LA, Mayor Bass, and the city council on the sanctuary city policy. So any other city with sanctuary city policy is looking at this from the outside going, that could be us next. That might be us. This could very well be us. Oh, that's not good. In response, city leaders are now looking at viable paths forward. Okay, where are we going to come up with our money? You got 126 active federal grants totaling $387 million, 90% of which is in transportation and housing. So this is desperately needed money that they can't have just go away. Give you an example of some of the funding that they could possibly lose. For instance, City of Portland was recently awarded $2 million from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, from HUD, supporting low-income housing for people living with HIV and AIDS and their families. Those funds would go away if the city officials don't agree to certify compliance. All they got to do is certify compliance. Yeah, we're getting rid of this nonsense, and we'll give you the money. Give you the money. But Trump has been pretty clear about, hey, if you're going to go down these crazy policy roads, you're not getting the federal money. He kind of holds it back, right? And he's talked about holding back from the state of California. You guys need to get in line. Otherwise, there's going to be a come to Jesus moment. Some say that's a strong arm tactic. Like, okay. But I don't have an issue with it. That's bottom line. I don't have an issue with that. I think some of these policies they're going after, it's probably a little heavy-handed, but I agree with it. Most of this stuff is just straight up racist. Losing those grants would be a major blow to the Portlanders who depend on them. Yes, but Portland has created a situation where they've got all these folks that need all these handouts. Seattle, same thing. San Fran, same thing. Any big blue liberal city has got a whole bunch of people with their hands out, and your and my tax dollars go to pay for those. We pay for those. We pay for those. So, Portland City Council President 𝗪𝗓𝗪𝗓𝗪𝗓𝗪𝗓𝗪𝗓𝗪𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓 we can make sure that every member of the community is getting the services that they need. What is a definition of services that they need? That's the big question. Homeless people getting crack pipes that are drug addicts? Is that services they need? Because Portland pays for that as well. I mean, cleaning up the streets after a bunch of whacked out drug addicts just kind of do their thing? Should we be doing that? Should we be cleaning up graffiti from a bunch of, losers that just run around the city unabated? How about Antifa in general, Trantifa, just basically having their way with the federal building because the local police department won't shut it down because they've been dictated by leadership, city leadership. This is Portland. We keep Portland weird, so we don't want to impinge on anybody's right to speech. But nowhere does it say that criminals should be allowed to attack the federal building. And that's what's going on in Portland. And that's why, Portland's got a little bit of a spotlight on it right now. Holman's going to come to town and take a little look and see what we're doing. So figuring out how we can make sure that every member of our community is getting the services that they need. Who determines that, right? I mean, that's basic leadership, right? That is what the city does, is figure that out. And they know that their tax dollars are not going to be what they currently are in the near future. However, she acknowledges it's a difficult thing to balance the drive for equity within the weight of federal mandates. And I'll see you in court. Trump has said, I'll see you in court. Go F yourself. I'll see you in court. Sanctuary city policies. I mean, you have to have a real libtard of a judge to tell the federal government that deporting criminal illegals from the country is a bad thing. You got to have a real nut job to somehow come up with that being a good call. And in a court case, all right, so you've got local authorities just allowing the criminal illegal aliens to be dumped out on the street with no notice to ICE. You're not cooperating with ICE on keeping the streets of your sanctuary city safe. What judge is going to go, I think it's a great idea that you guys don't cooperate with ICE? I mean, if that is your policy, then you deserve everything that the federal government's going to throw at you. And Trump has basically said, I'll see you in court. F yourself. This is what we're doing. We'll let the attorneys dwell on small details. On the state level, federal grants help Oregon counties pay for schools, which are some of the worst in the nation. Freeways, safety net programs, all right, emergency responders and other key services, basic services to keep the city going. And they know that their tax revenue dollars are decreasing because their commercial real estate market is tanking. Big Pink being the hugest indicator of that 88% drop in value. In terms of next steps expected to unfold in the next few weeks, Jordan said, Mayor Keith Wilson and the Portland City Council will explore possible paths forward, including legal avenues and policy options, with care and resolve. They're going to bend over and take whatever Trump gives them. That's what's going to happen. Yeah, the writing's on the wall. Writing's on the wall with Karen Bass. I am not sure if we can keep these sanctuary policies intact. She might as well have come right out and said, you know what? This ain't going to go well for us in court. We're going to lose. So we might as well start talking about how we're just going to give up on our principles. Because so they say, so they go away from their sanctuary city policies. Doesn't really cost them any money. They're spending money on working towards not cooperating with ICE. They're spending money. And as ICE comes in, does their thing, as they put up a fight, I mean, it's just not going to work out well for them. It is not going to go their direction. Though it's not entirely clear what decisions will be made and what their effects may be, Jordan vowed the process will, I love it. I love it. Absolutely love it. Remain transparent. What a bunch of nonsense. What a bunch of just, that's just idiotic. Remain transparent. So everybody can already see what you're doing. And that's why you've dropped so many places in the ratings of desirable places for businesses to set up business. You are pushing people away. You are pushing businesses away. And that has caused your commercial real estate to drop incredibly, more so than any other city. And you've got the highest vacancy factor. So put all those things together, expect to see some pretty major changes to Portland's DEI policy. Are we going to hear about them? They're not going to say a damn thing. Because these people in Portland, the folks who are voting blue, they love a good DEI policy. They cringe when I say didn't earn it or deport every illegal. They cringe. Oh, that's not what we're doing. We care about everybody. How's that working out for you? How's that working out for you? Going to lose a bunch of funding, already lost a bunch of tax revenue, got a bunch of crazy nut jobs running around on your streets. How's that going? How is that working out? Well, we've got a path forward and we're doing this and we're doing that. And things are really looking on the up for us. Okay. But look at all the other sanctuary cities in the United States that have similar DEI policies because they kind of go hand in hand. How are they doing as well? Well, collectively, I think they're all about to get a big whack in the court system. Yeah, because anything that happens with LA, that's going to be mimicked by other cities throughout the United States. And no city wants to lose its federal funding because they need that funding to cover this nonsense. And also when their local sources of funding, like the commercial real estate market, don't seem to be going in the right direction, that makes that federal funding even more important. So we're going to be keeping a close eye on Portland because it's got a lot of shenanigans going on. Make sure you're subscribed, hit that notification bell, hit the like button if you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you on the next one. Thanks for joining. We'll see you soon. Bye for now.